Hey, what's going on? My name is Jordan. If you don't know me, I'm the founder of Carbon Box Media. And in today's podcast, we're going to be talking with Amanda Lacy, who has been one of our clients for the past 8 to 9 months. She started out by doing around $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Now she's making $300,000 to $400,000 a month. Super awesome person, super awesome brand. We got to spend last week in Outdoor Retailer. Outdoor Retailer is this trade show event in Utah for outdoor brands. And the Bijou Build product is a perfect product for OR, or Outdoor Retailer. Since we were there, we wanted to film a podcast and just kind of get her insights on not really what it's like to work with us, but just what it's like to start a company. She is a mother of 3. She's a female founder, and she's just an all-around great business person. And so just kind of diving into her thought process on how she created Bijou Build, since it's such a unique product, and how she's helped build this product that is just set for scalability. That's what we're going to be going over today. It's a really great product, really great person. Amanda is awesome. And if you're seeing this, Amanda, hi, how you doing? But guys, that's pretty much it. Let's get straight into it, and hope you enjoy.
One of my favorite comedians is Nate Bargatze. Do you ever listen to any of his stuff?
Is he the Italian guy?
I suppose the last name would imply such a thing, but he has a funny skit, and he's like, you can't have 2 dreamers. You'll be homeless in an hour, you know? You got to have one person who's the dreamer and one that just hates fun, you know? So the point being that, like, in every partnership, there's got to be a good balance. And especially when you have like 3 kids, there has to be somebody who is responsible for, like, making sure you have health care and that you're like paying all of your bills and everything. So I'm eternally grateful that he is that person right now in our lives, so that I can go off and do this crazy thing. And knowing that, like, I'm doing it on a whole, what's best for the family.
Sure.
And trying to, like, make something that means something to us. For years, I worked for other people and was inventing and making products, and I was just doing it for everybody else. So when I finally decided to, like, I'm going to do this so that I am the one that is directly benefiting. Like, in college, I loved working in restaurants. I bartended, you know, worked in restaurants like so many college kids did. And I really liked that way of earning money, because the more you hustled and the more tables you took, the more money you made. It was a very easy, you know, transaction. Whereas, like, when you start taking a salary, you know, it's like it's not a direct compensation analysis.
Yeah.
So, and there's something really scary with that, because there's a lot of things that are out of your control. But in general, I no one's going to work harder for my family than I am.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I had to find something where it was like I was in direct control over what I was able to add to our lifestyle.
Yeah.
But because of the way that our you know, system is set up with education and everything, and we have 3 kids and a mortgage and student loan payments and everything like that, you know, I just didn't like the idea of, like, busting my hump for the next 15 years to pay off all of this debt. So I was like, okay, I have to create value in some other way that is not directly tied to how many hours I work.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's not enough hours in the day that I could work to free us from that, like, ball and chain.
Yeah.
So being able to be in control of our, like, financial freedom has been really special.
Yeah.
And he supports that, even though it means I'm not there as much as he would like me to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, Amanda, how old are your kids right now?
So my oldest is 9, my son, and then I have a daughter who's 7, and then I have another son that's 5.
Okay.
5 3/4, as he would like to say. But they're at a really good age.
Yeah, great age, right before puberty, you know.
Right before it hits the fan. Yeah. They still like to hang out with us and be around us.
Yeah.
And think they don't know that we're not cool yet. It's coming.
Yeah.
But.
So, I mean, you started Bijou 2 years ago, more or less, right? And so your kids were even younger. And obviously, you can work from home only so much, right? And so with your husband, you know, being a dentist and obviously having to be in office, were you sort of stay-at-home mom / entrepreneur / managing inventory / trying to find the right agency / how do I do marketing? I mean, that's a lot.
People think, I started working remotely telecommuting is what they called it, 10 years ago.
Back in the day.
I started doing that right before my first child was born, so it was about 10 years ago. And people would think because I worked from home that my kids were with me. And I'm like, hell no. If my kids were with me, I can't work.
Right.
So I've worked from home for a long time, but I have been very, very blessed to have my parents, my mother and father. They always joked that they would, whoever had the first grandchild, that's who they would like follow. And it was for real. So we moved from Virginia up to Maine, and I was pregnant with our first child. And he was born in September. And by December for Christmas, they were like, what do you think if we moved to Maine? And of course, I was alone. It was winter in Maine, which I'd never experienced before. And Ben was in his first year of dental school, which is like the first year of med school. So he was doing that, So I was like, yes, totally, come. I would love that. And they moved up. And then a couple years later, I had our daughter. And then he graduated. And I think when they moved up, they thought we would all just go back to Virginia together. And there should just be a fun little Maine adventure that we had. And we said, no, we're actually going further north. And they were like, well, we're not going further north. We're going to stay in Portland. We'll stay in Portland for a year and see if you guys really want to do that.
Right.
And that lasted like a month. And then they were like, what do you think if we follow you again, up to Camden? So they moved from Virginia to Portland, bought a house, sold a house, and then moved all the way up to Camden. And now they live less than a mile from us. And I like walk them to my mom's house, and she's amazing. So I have an amazing family support network to make all this work. Because when my children were less than 9 months old, every one of them, I would go away on business trips for up to 2 weeks. And you just can't do that if you don't have that level of support.
Right.
So that was a huge, huge game changer for me. So I've never actually been, what you would call a stay-at-home mom. My kids have never been home with me in that way. It's like, you just can't get anything done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the balancing of the family requirements and everything with starting a business, I feel very, very blessed to live in the time that we live in, and being a woman and being able to be a mom and also be able to be a hustler and be out there making things happen. Because for most of human history, women could never do that. It wasn't even an option. So the fact that I'm able to do all of these things, of course there's sacrifices that you make, but the fact that I can work when I need to work. So for example, for me, as you know, I lived in Spain for a while and really took on that culture of the siesta. So the kids go off to school, I drop my youngest off, I just crush it until about 1. Then I take a little break, for a couple of hours, and then finish out the afternoon. The kids come home, we do dinner, all of that stuff, and then I work at night after they go to bed. That has been a really big deal for me, because during the day, there's just so many distractions. Even though I have help, there's always play dates and there's practices and there's just things that, life that just pulls your attention away. But after they go to bed and everybody else is asleep in the house, that's when I can really get stuff done. That's when I can activate the creative part of my mind. Because in the morning, I'm taking care of business stuff. But in the evening, that's when I'm ideating. That's when I'm looking at different ideas and really trying to be analytical. So those hours at the end of the day have been really important.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
As soon as I wake up, I'm time to work. That's when I get all my busy work done.
Yeah.
And then around 1 p.m., I'm okay, hit a light, gym time, eat some food.
Yeah. Oh, good for you for going to the gym.
I'm trying to do that instead of nap,
Oh, instead of nap?
Instead of nap, yeah.
Bully for you.
I know. But you leave the gym, those endorphins are firing, you feel good.
Yeah.
And then I come back, usually eat, and then that's my creative time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people it's total opposite, they can't work in the morning at all. But I'm up and I'm let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I feel that's something that's lost in this day and age is, at least in the US, is the family unit, the dynamic that you guys have, and for you to have your parents and your kids to have their grandparents.
Yeah. Multi-generational lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I grew up, my grandpa was in Arkansas. My grandma was in Arizona. My grandma and grandparents on my mom's side were passed away, but even if they were still alive, they would have been in California.
Right.
And so see him every Thanksgiving or every Christmas. Hi, how's school? Same old thing. But that was pretty much it.
Yeah. They don't know you.
Yeah.
You don't know them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the statistics on the benefits of children having relationships with their grandparents are pretty significant.
Yeah.
And I grew up the same way. My whole family was from Ohio. So like every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, we were trucking it up to Ohio. And yeah, having that like day-to-day interaction with them has been a real blessing. And they had me when they were 17. So they're young. They still, they can keep up with a 5-year-old, which is also unusual in grandparents. So they made a lot of sacrifices, obviously, when they were really young, but hopefully they feel they are like reaping the benefits now that they're a little bit older. And they were not at all surprised when I like went on this entrepreneur journey. And even friends of mine, when I told them it was 2021 and I left my position and I was like, I'm doing it. And they were like, yeah, of course you're doing it. And like I asked a friend of mine, like I was trying to think of brand names and what do I call this thing? What do I do? All this stuff. And she was just totally like, yeah, you're finally doing it. Like we all knew you were going to start your own business. It was just like a matter of when. So I didn't know that I was going to do that, but the people around me knew. And there's also like a point where you just become like a bad employee.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You're like, I don't like this. I'm not, like, it's just not good for anybody. So whenever you feel like you are not bringing your A game, like just leave. Yeah. Just put everybody out of their misery. Yeah. The question is like, what are you going to do after that? Because you can't just not be a good employee.
Yeah.
Like either you have to figure out how to pay yourself or you got to figure out how to be a good employee.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground.
But you're either figuring out how to pay yourself for yourself or you're figuring out how to pay yourself for somebody else.
Right. Right.
And just the growth in that is just so finite. And you can only climb the corporate ladder so long. And by the time you're at the point where you want to be,
yeah,
it's retirement's right around the corner, more or less.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. No offense to anyone doing 9-to-5s right now, but yeah, it's just.
And it's not, I mean, I will say, like, it's not for everybody, this, like, starting a business thing.
Oh my God, no way.
People from the outside look at it and they're like, oh my God, it's so great. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. But you just put a little bit of a different spin on it. Yeah. It's like, you don't have anyone telling you what to do. Like, it is up to you to sink or swim.
Yeah.
And I know nobody likes to admit it, but like when you're working for somebody, there's always someone to like pass the buck to.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't execute this well, or oh, the sales team didn't do this, or oh, the engineers, dropped the ball on this. Like, it's easy to just kind of like, pass that buck that there was some other reason you weren't successful in what you were trying to do. When all that is stripped away, if you don't succeed, it's because it was you.
It's you. It's on you.
Yeah. You didn't make the right choices and you didn't do these things. So not to say that we will always make bad decisions. Like, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. You just learn how to make less and less and less bad decisions.
You just hope that they get fewer and further between as you make them.
Yeah.
And you also, like, I have thought a lot about that British slogan in World War II of like, keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
And in my head, I repeat that a lot to myself because there's only so much control you have over things. And your only option is to keep calm and take that next step forward and not to dwell on it. Like, worry is a useless, just draining emotion, especially like when something has happened. It's happened. Let it go. You worrying about it is not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Which is, parents, you'd also know that like sometimes you just can't help worrying. But in general, it's useless.
And it always seems to happen right before you go to bed. All that worry. Yeah. Long day, ready for a good night's sleep, and then.
Like so many people of my age, it's all about like, oh, you should probably take like a supplement or a melatonin or breathing exercises or, I downloaded Headspace to do my meditation stuff. And
How'd that go?
All these hacks. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. But all these hacks to calm our minds down and figure out like how to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is. You're the only person that knows you're not sleeping at night. But also as a parent, you realize like how little sleep you can get by on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, no, I'm good.
I know, you're an animal. I still have no kids, and if I don't get 8 hours, I'm a mess. I feel like I'm, just 50% of myself the entire day.
Yeah.
So good for you. Hopefully I can adapt and overcome once I have kids.
It's like with a business, it's like you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You get up and you just go. Like, yeah, you didn't get that sleep or you didn't get that sale or that thing happened. And humans are amazingly adaptable.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason we're here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
We can adapt really, really well. So, yeah, it all kind of just pulls together.
Well, how'd you get the name Bijou Build? I've always been curious.
So I wanted a name that didn't already have any associations with it. Because it's hard enough to build a brand and you want something that's almost like a clean slate. So first I kind of searched, did anybody else have this name, or were there any other brands associated with it, or is there any negative thing online about this word?
Yeah.
I also asked some people internationally, like, is that offensive in any language? Because you hear sometimes about a brand, and I knew from the beginning that I wanted to be a global brand.
Yeah.
So I emailed some contacts in some different countries. I'm like, is this offensive in any way? And they're like, no, we don't even know what you're talking about.
What does bijou mean in French?
So in French, it means a jewel or a trinket.
Oh, beautiful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And in English, it means a small, charming dwelling. I did find out later that in, I suppose you would say like gutter French or, like city Parisians speak, the word bijou can also mean a part of the female anatomy.
Oh.
If it's a jewel or a trinket, I'll let you just go with that one. But I don't think that people that use bijou in that way are going to be my customers. So I'm not too worried about it. I found out later on, I was like, I'm not too worried about that like slang term.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that we could really own and build equity behind and make into something that there was no baggage associated with it.
Right.
So that was a big reason to choose it. And I wanted also something just like fun to say, and yeah, I just like the way it sounds.
It sounds great.
I like the way it rolls off the tongue.
It's a great word for Google as well.
You would know.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, cool, this is great. Yeah. If I had to, the one downfall of that is it's not a word people know how to spell necessarily.
Yeah.
Like when you hear bijou, you're like, oh, there could be an E in there. There could be a Z in there. Like, if you spell it phonetically, it would be BEEZOU or something.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to people about the brand and you want them to go to bijoubuild.com, it's not an automatic, like they don't know how to spell that. So
right.
I don't know. Not every brand is perfect. When people first came out with like Nike, it wasn't like something that anybody outside of like knowledge of Greek mythology would have had no idea what people were talking about. Uber, kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So it's taking a word and making it your own and owning it as a brand that I was really going for with Bijou.
Yeah.
I want something short, short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I couldn't trademark Bijou though, because it's just, it's an adjective. It just describes, it's descriptive. And it's something that's out there that's already widely used. So I had to add a second word to it. So I was able to trademark Bijou Build, but not actually Bijou.
Double B.
Yeah. So which has worked out fine. But again, if I had to do it over again, I maybe would have picked a brand name that I could trademark the actual brand.
Yeah.
But as long as I say Bijou Build, it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the website name anyway.
And it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do love alliteration. Little BB.
Yeah.
Little BB. Yeah.
Bijou Build's your baby.
Yeah. Little BB.
So something you brought up, and we spent all day talking to people, so we're a little bit tired. but you brought up earlier today when we mentioned that we wanted to do this podcast that you were like, yeah, I kind of just want to let the product do majority of the talking for me. And although from a marketing perspective that works, but this is kind of, one of the first podcasts you've ever done, putting your face out there.
Yeah, I'm putting myself out there.
Yeah, so I guess number one, how does it feel? And then number two, what kind of struck the hesitancy there?
It feels fine because I feel like I'm just talking to you.
Okay.
Just ignoring the fact that everything else is going on.
Cameras here, yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon is staring us down.
I think that, it's, I don't know, I suppose I just wasn't raised to talk about myself.
Yeah, it's
in
tough,
that way.
huh?
Yeah, it's just, it feels rude.
Mm-hmm.
It feels presumptuous. That I would assume anybody would care what I think or that what I say, that they would even want to listen to what I say.
Yeah.
Which I think about that a lot with social media and influencers. It's like there's an entire culture and marketing based on people who have no business talking about anything and no reason that we would want to look at them and listen to their lives. But we're fascinated. We love hearing about people, and we love people's stories, and we love looking at people's day to day.
Yeah.
So, recently our culture has just become that authenticity is the value, and that has never been the case before. You always had to put on a show.
Yeah.
Hollywood is built on smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
With the idea that you had to be worthy of being looked at and talked about, and that you had to be an expert in your field for people to care what you talked about or care what you say. But now anybody who wants to say anything about anything feels like they have the right to put it out there.
And an audience.
Yeah. And I too follow people, and I am just sucked into the humanity of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be super talented or have a lot of education and all this stuff to be worthy of listening to.
Yeah.
So I am trying to embrace that a little bit more and get out of that idea that you have to have some kind of credentials to be worthy of being listened to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's just not how it is anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's almost the less credentials, the more you get listened to, which has its own problems. But yeah, it's just, I think it just, I feel boastful if I put myself out there. Who would care what I'm doing or what I'm listening to?
And that, I feel like it's just getting yourself out there is the hardest part. And, if you start posting content, your friends are like, what are you, an influencer now?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Oh
my God, yes.
But really, I think.
Who does she think she is? Kind of
my gosh.
Idea, yeah.
But as soon as you get over that hump, it becomes so easy. And it's the people that say, what are you, an influencer now? They're the people that aren't doing shit.
Right.
They usually, they're just comfortable with where they're at, or they're too scared to take that leap of faith.
Right.
And so it's easier for them to ridicule and critique rather than, actually do something that's providing value. And I think with what you're doing, there's a ton of value that people would love to know about. I mean, you're a female founder, you're a mother, of 3 kids. You have to deal with my mustache. Well, I mean,
that's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part.
That's
I know.
Part.
It's not going anywhere.
Well, get used to it.
Get used to it.
Well, and I think that I listen to my favorite ones, like How I Built This.
Yeah.
And it's always done on people who have made it. They've already done it.
Yeah.
We like to, as a society, we pay a lot of attention to people who are already successful, who already did it.
Yeah.
So the idea of showing the struggle of trying to do it is kind of, I think, the part where you think people won't want to listen or something like that, because it's you want to, it's like, I want to be a success before I let anybody in on what's going on.
Yes.
But the journey, it's like, if I can help other people see the reality of what it's like to do this, that could help other people feel like they could possibly do it. Because when you only are shown the successes, you feel like you have to be a success before you've made it. And you don't get there before you go through all this other stuff first. So I think that it would be important, and hopefully it will help people to talk about the day-to-day of like trying to make this dream come true and the realities that I face, and also being honest about the advantages that I have. Like, I know that I have a lot of advantages that a lot of other people don't have.
Yeah.
So I think that I should probably be more open about talking about the kind of like mundane day-to-day things, because it's all these tiny, tiny, tiny little steps that lead to the top. It's not like there's all of a sudden, and like we like to say, like there's this one grand idea and then that turns into
Cue montage.
$1 million, and it's it happens, but very rarely.
Very rarely.
Most people are like me, or like you. It's like we're just every day trying to make an incremental advancement to eventually get to a point where we feel really proud and successful of it. But it does not happen overnight.
And it's not sexy until it is.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess that's the part too, is like people like the winner. People
Exactly.
like to be surrounded by winners, and they want to listen to winners.
Yes.
And when you don't feel like you're a winner yet, then like, what do I get to talk to people about?
Yeah.
I haven't done anything.
And I do kind of see you have to earn the right for people to listen to you. You kind of have to have the credentials for people to listen to you. But at the same time, the podcast you're talking about, where it's all those winners who have crushed it, whatever their mindset is not what people that are building their brand need to hear. Mm-hmm. Because they have a totally different thought process. They've already won. They're already making a ton of money, and they don't really understand. Well, it's hard for them to go back and be like, well, that's great that you're making a lot of money, but like, I just had to fire my agency, or my Facebook ad account just got restricted, or my cargo that was carrying 300 pieces of new inventory is delayed for another 3 months. So all these customers, it's just the ugly stuff isn't sexy, but that's the stuff that people need to hear. And I think where you're at is going to be so much more valuable to somebody who's trying to start up their own thing, rather than the person who's already done it. They're already hyper successful. Just two totally different mindsets.
What I do love about that podcast, though, and in general about hearing those success stories, is like there's always a point in all these very successful people and businesses where they almost lose it all.
Yeah.
There's a point where they like everything was chugging along and they were doing well, and then something catastrophic always happens, Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies don't come back from that stuff, and you never hear about those. But by the grace of God, or just a luck of the draw, something happens with those companies where they're able to pivot or turn, and then from there they become these companies that we now know. But for me, I need to hear that it wasn't such a straight shot, I need to hear those stories about like, we're this, $1 billion company today, but 10 years after we started, we almost lost it all. Because it just adds an element of humanity to it, of like, it could have gone either way at any moment, and we're just really lucky that it didn't.
Yeah.
And at the end, he always asks, was it luck, or was it, basically like skill? And people answer lots of different ways depending on your kind of view about all of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say it's luck.
Yeah.
Of like right place, right time, right team, right people. Mm-hmm. If I'd never been introduced to this guy, I never would have made this deal. Like, just, being in the right place at the right time has a huge effect on things, which is super scary as a founder, because you think that if you just work really hard, it'll all pay off. And life is crazy, and life is weird, and it can toss you good and bad. And we're only in control of so much.
True.
And trying to control what you can control, and then just let the rest of it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more, there is a way for you to work harder and kind of focus on what the highest leverage activities are. But I mean, if you really want to talk about luck, you're going to have no luck if you hit one of those rock bottom or almost closed moments and you just give up. I mean, if you just keep going, watch you find the right person at the right time, the right partnership, the right business to work with, the right creative that can take $80,000 and spend. There's, it's just, the luck stops as soon as you stop. And so everybody's going to strike luck, and luck is absolutely part of it. But luck is just finding the right opportunity, which you have
you will find if you just keep doing it.
Yeah, if you're not there to receive the luck, then it's just, you know, there's nowhere for it to land.
There's no luck to be given.
You got to keep going. Yeah, and I think doing something that you really love to do, I mean, you know, that that saying is kind of goofy. You know, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
It's my dad.
Fucking work though. Like even people that do love what they do, they work.
Yeah.
And they work hard. And they're lucky that they are doing something that they believe in and that gives them value and that they feel efficacy in. But like it still takes a lot of work. But I think if you're doing something that you really love, it makes it a lot easier to do that hard work. I cannot imagine having to like do something that I really hated.
Yeah.
I'm just not strong enough.
Yeah.
You know, I would just be like, screw this, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I had to find something that I really, really loved and that I believed in. Like I believe in what we're doing and I believe that it will reduce the waste in this category of product.
Yeah.
And I believe that we can show people that there is an option to have, you know, we're basically trying to get rid of single-use play structures. Like I believe in that mission. And that also, I think, really helps of like knowing that even if we just sell one bijou to one family, that's one less play structure that's going to end up in the landfill.
Yeah.
So that also really helps kind of keep me going of just, I really, really don't like waste.
Yeah.
In anything.
You're not a fan of waste?
Not a fan of waste.
Nor am I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate wasting time. I hate wasting energy. I hate wasting emotional distress.
Yeah.
You know, I like get angry at myself when I'm like worrying about stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's useless. Stop it. But I definitely don't like waste when there is a good alternative. There are some things that there's not a good alternative,
Yeah.
and we deal with that. So our goal with Bijou is just to offer an alternative to people.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but at least it's there.
Yeah.
So that you know, there's a lot of people I think that are really happy that we came around because they're like, I've been looking for something that was sustainable and that wasn't going to be so wasteful. And before we came along, there was no option.
Yeah.
And if you want your kids to have a play set, you just accept that you're just going to trash it one day.
Yeah.
So
I know. Where do you give it? It's not really something you can hand down to somebody.
not really.
Yeah.
Not safely.
Not safely.
Yeah.
Get
Like once you
splinters.
undo all those bolts and screws,
Yeah.
getting it back together is not really a safe option.
Yeah.
And parents are busy. Like usually your kids won't have used it for 10 years and it'll just rot. And then you either have to disassemble it or get it paid to be taken away,
Yeah.
and it all just goes to a big landfill. So we just wanted to offer an alternative. You know, it's like, I love those stasher bags, you know, an alternative to plastic bags.
Yeah.
Like, they're awesome. They're amazing. And before they were invented, there wasn't really a good alternative. We used cloth diapers, and they're amazing. And we didn't want to use disposable diapers. So we had dozens of amazing companies that we could choose from. They made it an option. So we're just trying to make Bijou an option for people who don't want to waste their money, waste their time, waste their yard space.
Right.
And then create waste that's going to go into a landfill.
Yeah,
So we are
exactly.
the alternative that people can choose if they want to. And I feel really, really proud to offer that to society. You see what's happening over there?
What are you doing?
Just doing push-ups.
Doing push-ups?
You guys can keep going. You guys can stop. I didn't want to break the flow. He's drunk. You guys are killing it.
Well, guys, Brandon started doing push-ups and interrupted the flow of everything.
You guys have
So
34 minutes. So far.
Well, a lot.
This is good. And also, I keep checking the cameras because I forgot to check our storage. So no camera's frozen yet. So up to you guys.
I think that's a good ending point.
yeah, I think so too. I was about to close it out until we
Yeah.
saw,
Until,
I don't know how long you guys are going to go.
might as well get a pump in.
yeah. Talk about being efficient,
Yeah.
not wasting time.
Yeah. To my co-founder.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what he
right. That's right. Let's just do a few reps.
All right, last thing. Where can people find Amanda Lacy? Where can people find Bijou Build? Whether you're a customer, a retailer, just somebody interested, you want to follow you on social media, where can people find you?
So bijoubuild.com
Okay.
for the product. I suppose LinkedIn, Amanda Lacy, no E. And then we have a really amazing Instagram following and Facebook following, and there's some really fun stuff. And I love seeing what our customers are doing with the product. Like every time we get tagged, I get very excited to see what's going to be like behind the tag, and it's usually pretty epic. So.
Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate it. Let's shake hands.
Thanks, Carbon Box Media.